that Charles Manson told his followers that he was Jesus resurrected? In the darkest corners of human history, there are tales so chilling, so evil that they transcend mere criminality. Among these haunting events, one name reigns supreme. His name conjures images of terror, manipulation, and the purest form of evil: Charles Manson. Charles Manson evokes a chilling sense of darkness and horror. In the late 1960s, Manson, a charismatic and manipulative figure, orchestrated a series of heinous crimes that shocked the world and forever changed the perception of evil. The events surrounding Manson and his cult, known as the Manson Family, became synonymous with the term Helter Skelter, a phrase Manson used to describe an impending apocalyptic race war. Prepare yourselves as we journey into the heart of madness, where the ordinary brings doom. Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934 in Ohio. He was raised in a neglectful and abusive environment, and Manson began his life of crime at a young age. By his early teens, he had committed several petty crimes. He was detained in juvenile centers, where he engaged in violent sexual assaults. Manson's experiences in these institutions contributed to his twisted worldview and predatory behavior. Manson's cult philosophy blended elements of religion, self-help, and racism. He was a white supremacist who was fixated on the notion of a race war between Black Americans and the government. Manson believed that Black Americans would start a war, leading to a post-apocalyptic world where he and his followers would emerge as the rulers. Manson's twisted ideology combined pseudo-spirituality, apocalyptic visions, and a warped interpretation of the Beatles song, Helter Skelter. His vision of Helter Skelter included an underground city where his followers could transform into fantastical creatures. He hated the Black Panther movement and tried to frame them in one of his murders. Manson convinced his followers to surrender their identities to him completely, establishing an imbalanced and abusive dynamic within the Manson family. Manson viewed Hollywood as the epitome of wealth, fame, and power, a world he desperately desired to be a part of. He attempted to network his way into the industry, leveraging connections with music producers and actors. Manson's interactions with the Beach Boys member Dennis Wilson and his failed recording session with producer Gary Stromberg exemplify his unsuccessful pursuit of a music career. Manson's fixation on Hollywood culminated in his targeting of 1050 Cielo Drive, the residence of Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate. In the late 1960s, Manson began attracting followers who were drawn to his magnetic personality and promises of an alternative lifestyle. The Manson family, as they came to be known, formed a commune at Spawn Ranch in California. Manson manipulated his followers through psychological manipulation, hallucinogenic drug use, and shared delusions. Before the infamous Tate LaBianca murders, some victims crossed paths with the Manson family. Bernard Lotzapapa Crow, an LA drug dealer, found himself on the wrong side of Manson after one of his followers defrauded him. In a chilling act of retribution, Manson went to Crow's apartment and shot him. Luckily, Crow survived. Another victim, Gary Hinman, a Buddhist music teacher, became entangled in Manson's web when one of his roommates, Bobby Bassolil, joined the family. Hinman's tragic fate was sealed when Manson falsely believed he possessed a large sum of money. The truth, however, was that Hinman was penniless at the time of his untimely death. But the night of August 8, 1969, forever etched Manson's name into the annals of darkness. The sprawling residence on Cielo Drive, the home of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, became the stage for Manson's demonic action. Inside, innocent souls stayed, unaware of their impending doom. The Tate residence became a sight of unspeakable horror as the Manson followers descended upon it. Among the victims was Abigail Folger, an heiress to the Folger coffee fortune. Far from living a life of privilege, Folger immersed herself in activism and social work, dedicating her time to helping the less fortunate. Her boyfriend, Wojciech Frykowski, a Polish immigrant and close friend of Roman Polanski, shared her passion for social causes. Together, they found themselves residing in the opulent mansion owned by Polanski and his wife, the renowned actress, Sharon Tate. Jay Sebring, a celebrity hairstylist and Tate's close friend, accompanied the group. Their lives intertwined on that fateful night when they found themselves at the mercy of the Manson followers. Stephen Parent, an 18-year-old with dreams of attending college, also unknowingly crossed paths with the Manson family that night. He had innocently visited William Garrettson, the caretaker of the Cielo Drive property, in an attempt to sell him a small clock. Tragically, he encountered the Manson followers just as they entered the property. Despite pleading for his life, Parent fell victim to the ruthless Tex Watson, who shot him 4 times. The violence escalated as the night wore on, claiming the lives of Jay Sebring, a pioneering hairstylist whose talents revolutionized the industry, and Sharon Tate, a vibrant actress who had already made a name for herself in Hollywood. Tate's promising career and pregnancy were abruptly cut short, leaving a legacy of unfulfilled potential and sorrows. But the horrors did not end there. The next night, Manson personally led his followers to the home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, where they committed further acts of violence. The crimes were characterized by extreme brutality and a shocking disregard for human life. Leno, a World War II veteran, had led a successful life. However, his blissful existence was shattered when the Manson followers invaded their home. Rosemary, a self-made millionaire and astute businesswoman, became another victim of the Mansons' insidious influence. Together, they met a gruesome end. Their lives were snuffed out in a senseless act of violence. These gruesome crimes shattered the country's perception of safety and innocence, and marked the end of the 1960s counterculture era. Manson's manipulation of his followers, known as the Manson Family, to carry out these acts of violence, demonstrated his dangerous charisma and thirst for power and control. Contrary to popular belief, the Tate LaBianca murders were not isolated incidents of violence orchestrated by Manson. Before these infamous killings, Manson and his followers committed crimes that escalated over time. These crimes included multiple murders, torture, hostage-taking, and even an attempted assassination of a US president. Manson's criminal history and dark trajectory of his followers' actions reveal a pattern of escalating criminality. The cultural narrative surrounding the Manson family murders often portrays them as a random eruption of violence, a product of a drug-fueled counterculture of the 1960s. However, a deeper exploration into Manson's twisted psyche reveals a different motive. Manson's insatiable craving for wealth, fame, and power, combined with his delusional beliefs, led him to exploit the free love ethos and the vulnerable young women of the era. The Manson family murders were not occult rituals, as often portrayed in popular culture. They were a combination of Manson's desire for power and diversion tactics to cover up earlier crimes. Manson sought to incite a race war, but he also wanted to divert the authorities' attention from his involvement in the shooting of a drug dealer and the murder of Gary Hinman. These crimes, and his failed attempts at achieving fame, culminated in the tragic events that forever marked Manson's place in history. The police investigation into the Tate LaBianca murders led them to the doorstep of the Manson family. Through the testimonies of Manson's disillusioned followers and mounting evidence, law enforcement built a case against Manson and his accomplices. Ultimately, Manson and several followers were convicted of multiple counts of first-degree murder. While incarcerated, Manson continued to exert a demonic influence on society. His chilling charisma and the enigma surrounding his motives absolutely fascinated the public. Manson's name became synonymous with evil, and his crimes were a cautionary tale about the dangers of manipulation and the vulnerability of lost souls. Manson's legacy persists as a reminder of the dark underbelly of human nature and the potential for evil that resides within.